Alright, cool. Gonna make another video. Um, this one, I don't have a specific topic in mind. I was just thinking I was gonna make a video, and I actually have a lot of videos like planned, or video ideas. Like it's really easy for me to come up with video ideas, but then sometimes I'll be looking over the notes that I've made or the video ideas, and I don't know, like I won't. It's not even that they're bad ideas. It's just that I'm not as invested in making that particular video as I was when I wrote down the idea, if you get what I'm saying. So I was just kind of looking through a lot of them, and I guess I have like a general theme. Um, let's see. Essentially, it's like, what is the point? What is the point to anything? So, like, what is the point of life? What is the point of existence? What is the point of reality, if there even is one? Um, so I've spoken in some of my past videos about nihilism, um, which is essentially the ideology that there is no inherent meaning to anything. Like there's like life doesn't have a meaning. Or what I'm saying right now doesn't mean anything. Or yeah, so essentially there's no inherent meaning to anything except for meanings that we as humans assign to things. So if we say, oh, this word means this, and we all collectively agree, then that's what it means, even though we know that it doesn't really mean that. Um, and see, this idea of like, oh, what's the point? All of this stuff essentially ties in. It's like meaning, purpose, all of these kinds of things, right? This is essentially the theme that I want to speak about, and all of those things occur within linear time. Like that's all within a progression. So, for example, if we say, if I say a sentence, like for example, if we say, what is the purpose of this video? What is the purpose of this video? And then if I say, for example, the purpose of this video is to, like, for me to express my own insights and understanding. So in a sense, it's a form of self-expression, and for others to help them understand as well, or essentially, yes, to spread understanding, intellectual conversations, these sorts of things, right? See, that's always within a progression of time. So like I make the video, then that happens essentially. So like if we're saying, oh, the purpose of this video is to cause that. You see, there's like the cause and the effect. Essentially, when you're saying there's a purpose for something, you're saying that whatever you're doing now is you're consciously creating a cause for a desired effect. And the effect was actually the purpose of the actions you were doing, which was just trying to cause that effect. You see? So everything that you're doing is for something else. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, like the purpose of eating food is not just to eat the food, is to nourish your body. You see? And The purpose of nourishing your body isn't just to nourish your body, but it's so that your body can survive. And surviving isn't just to survive. Surviving is so that you can thrive. You see, and so essentially every single action leads onto something else. And the purpose of any particular thing is always the effect that it's trying to cause in the future. You see, so it's always like this is a linear progression, unfoldment. So if there's no time and if there's no progression, then there cannot be any such thing as purpose or meaning. Because even meaning, right? Meaning is always a secondary or tertiary conclusion about something. So you could say there's a few variables or a few conditions. Like A is equal to B, which means C. You see, the meaning is like a deduction after you've seen the thing. Or you could say A plus B is equal to C, which means D. So A plus B is like the variables and the conditions. Then C is the results. And then D is your conclusion about the results and the conditions. And the conclusions can be different. Like every individual can come up with a different conclusion or a different meaning. This is why there's billions of humans, or even, billions of humans who could look at the same thing and have different opinions on it, different conclusions, different meanings. One person will read the Bible and they say, this verse means this. And someone else will read that same verse and say, no, it means that. You see, the verse was like the conditions, the variables. The meaning is a secondary. See, first you have to read the verse, look at the thing, and then come up with your meaning after. See, it's always in linear time and progression. So all of these things presuppose that there is time and that there is progression, right? Like, see, meaning is essentially you're saying this and this condition, like it's all linked in with causality. Meaning, purpose, all of these things are linked with causality, which are all linked with progression in time, supposedly, like unfoldment. Even though time doesn't actually really exist, it only appears to, which I've explained in many of like my past episodes. See, time and unfoldment, progression, causality, all of these things are relatively true. They're true from particular perspectives, within particular conditions, and only then. And it's contingent upon those things being that way in order for example, space and time to like exist. Like if you're dead, time and space doesn't exist to you. Like you have to be alive to even experience time and space. So essentially, I've explained before that there is no meaning to anything. And there is no purpose to anything. See, because, as I said, in the relative plane or in life, everything is for something else. Like, I do this video to like get more attention, more subscribers, so that more people can watch the video. Then it can help more people. And then when it helps more people, there'll be more people understanding. And then when they understand, then they can help even more people and create a ripple effect. And then they will become conscious. See, like, even though the intentions can be good, there's good intentions, bad intentions, it doesn't matter. But every action you're doing is for something else other than the action. And that's really what we call, it's not always that way, but usually it is. And essentially, when we're doing these actions where it's not for something else, then that's what we kind of say is fun. You see, like if you're just playing, like nowadays everything is so transactional that even when you're enjoying sport or something, oh, it's for your health now, or it's you know what I'm saying? Like now everything is so transactional, but there are moments like when you're having the most fun or you're enjoying yourself the most is when you're doing something for its own purpose, not for any other reason. So really, like all those reasons that I said for this video, why I made this video, or the purpose of this video, yes, like some of those are partially true, but they're not really true. The real truth is that I'm making this video just to make it for its own purpose. Like there's no other reason why this video exists other than the fact that I wanted to create it. I wanted to create it, so I created it because I wanted to create it. And I wanted to create it just to enjoy the process of myself creating it. Not even so that it is created. You see, that's already a difference. Like, if I'm creating this just to enjoy the process of creating it, there's a difference between that and even creating it just so that it is created. Just so that it's like it is created. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you could say, I could say I'm doing this video for its own sake, and then say, like, I made it just so that like it was made, just so that it existed. Like I created it, I made it exist just so that it exists. But even that wouldn't really be for its own purpose. Like its own purpose would be me creating it to create it, not so that it is created. Do you get the difference there? So essentially what I'm saying is that reality is for its own purpose. Like reality is real to be real. Existence exists to exist. Life is alive to live, and death is dead. You see, death is dead. Like death isn't alive. Death doesn't really exist. Death is dead. It wanted to be dead, and it's dead. If you wanted to be dead, you would be dead. So that's already proof that you want to be alive because you're alive. So when this whole kind of movement of people losing purpose, losing meaning, like meaning crisis, and no one has a purpose, purposeless, like men and women who don't know what to do. Like you need to find your purpose. There's no such thing as your purpose. Like there's no such thing. When you really just look at it, that is a ridiculous notion. You're trying to tell me that you were born or you came into existence for one particular purpose. So essentially like one effect. Or you was born to make that one video to help that person. Or you was born to do that job to help that boss make millions of dollars. Or you was born to have a child. And that's it. That's why he was born. Your purpose was to have it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous proposition. Your life could never have a purpose. Like one part, like who gave you this purpose? You're saying God, like an external God. Like there's no such thing as an external God. If God is everything, you're God. Because you're something, right? Like how could God be everything and you're not God? How does that make sense? See, so you have to create your own purpose, but then realize that there was no inherent purpose. You have to also create your own meaning, but there was no inherent meaning, but you're creating the meaning. Because again, at the absolute level, you're not even in time as well. See, right now you're identifying as a human in time. So you think that there are real meanings, there are real purposes, like that, like my purpose is to do this, X, or to do Y, or to do Z. And if I don't fulfill these conditions, my life will be a failure. Like, you can't fail life. All you have to do to be alive is breathe. Like, if you're breathing, you're alive. That's the only condition. That's it. Like, this idea of having a life, like, as if like people act as if, yeah, there's life, right? Like, which is breathing and being alive. And then they act as if like only a section of that is living. Like, oh, there's surviving and then there's living. I understand what you're trying to say, like that distinction that you could be in like survival mode and all of that. And like and living is only thriving. They act as if living is only when you're thriving. But no, that's only half. See, you're basically saying that half of life is all of life. When actually, no, thriving and not thriving, both of those together, that's life. It's two sides of the same coin. The peak and the valley. It's not like just the peak is life or just the valley is life. Like, no, the whole sine wave. That's it. That's the oscillation and the deviation. That's life. The baseline, which is eternally zero, that's death. See, because like death in a sense is eternal. Like you, even before you were alive, you were essentially, you was already dead. You came from death. You arose out into life. You deviated from the baseline. You could think like it's literally like a heartbeat. Like if you look at that oscillator when someone's heart beating, like you see that baseline, that's you, like, and then when it oscillates, like that's life. As long as you're still oscillating, as long as your heart is still beating and you're deviating from the baseline, that's life. And then death is just when you just merge back to the baseline of zero again, of non-existence. See, really your non-existence is more primary than your existence. Your existence is secondary. It's just an appearance which appears for a particular time. And because it continues to appear right now, you think that you really are. You think you absolutely are alive, but no, you're not. You're only partially alive. You only appear to be alive, and that appearance will vanish. Like, even though there's no time, but once that appearance essentially vanishes, then it will see. There are only appearances. There cannot be any substantial reality. There's only appearances. But realize that because the truth isn't anything in particular, the appearances can never be stagnant. Like, it can't just be one picture, or it can't just be like consciousness can't just remain in one state, like an abyss of just silence and darkness, and just be like that forever. Like, it can't do that, because then that would be something in particular, and it wouldn't be nothing anymore. You see? So like, because it is nothing, which is zero, and as I explained in my past video, like you can't get above or below zero. Like, you can deviate, supposedly, like it can appear to deviate for a limited amount of time, but you can't indefinitely deviate from the baseline. The baseline is like the anchor, because that's all that it is. Even when it's deviated, it's still zero. Do you understand? This is how like money works, credit and debt. Like, essentially, if you took all of the money supply, it should equal out to zero. This is why right now the central banking, with them printing money essentially and charging interest on debt and all of these sort of mechanisms, this is how they're siphoning all the money, resources, and putting everyone else into more debt. See, like, if you look at the charts and that, it would suggest to us like the whole world is in debt, but that's impossible. All that debt that the world has, someone else has that in profit. You must understand that. And that party, that's the party of the elites who own the world essentially. See, someone has to have that money. It's not going like nowhere, because it's just zero. It's just credit and debt. Like, you can't have credit without debt, and you can't have debt without credit. Do you understand this? Because it's zero. It's nothing. Money doesn't exist. It only appears to exist. But money essentially works exactly the same. Currency, energy, it's all the same thing. Charge, like you are essentially a battery of charge, of energy. Energy can't be created. It can only be transformed. Like it only changes forms. See, money, right? Like money doesn't really exist. You can't make money. We can just only account for where the currency is flowing. Because even though it's always equivalent to zero, it can't remain stagnant. It's just like the ocean. Like the ocean, like it can't remain stagnant. Like how could water stay still? Like it's always flowing. See, so energy is zero, but it's always moving. It can't remain static. So it's always moving and oscillating. And sometimes it's like oscillated to the right into credit, and sometimes oscillated to the left in debt. But then every time it's like a dynamic scale, right? So like it always counterbalances itself. So even when it appears to be deviated that way, or it appears to be deviated that way, that's why, like, how many depressions have we been in and we came out? How many economic booms have we been in? See, this is just, why do you think I call my channel Peaks and Valleys? This is life. It's just a deviation from the baseline. But the only thing that's absolute is zero. The peak is not, like the positives, the profit, the surplus is not absolute. The debt, negative, all of that stuff is not absolute. It can't be, because you can't have one without the other. The only thing that's absolute is zero. So I just went on some tangents there. As I said, this video is a bit of a rambly episode because I didn't really have any like particular purpose for it other than itself. So this video isn't, see, as I said, like purpose and all these things are progressing. Like people will be watching this video and like, oh, what's your final point? Like, what are you building up towards? I'm not building up to anything. Like, I'm not, this video isn't progressing anywhere. You see, it's just oscillating and remaining in the exact same place. That's infinity. It just oscillates. Like, it appears to be progressing, but it's not progressing. But it's still dynamic. See, like, nothingness, existence is nothing. Or reality is nothingness, right? But it's not stagnant. We appear to think that, because we think that in our misperception, we believe that this is substantial, and we see oscillation, we see deviation, and we think that this is in profit on the substantial side. We think that absolutely, we think that this absolutely exists, like, as opposed to not existing. We think that absolutely we're in profit here. They're like, things are moving, but this is life. And then we think death would be like, because we think this is the surplus and everything changes, and we think in death, like everything must be the same, like a stagnant, static thing. But actually, this isn't even substantial. You see? Like, it's only substantial on the surface. Yeah, so essentially there's the point. Essentially, everything is its own point. You see, it is actually true that, like, nihilism is true. There's no inherent meaning to anything, because how could there be? There's no inherent meaning to anything. So yes, reality is meaningless, but realize that even meaninglessness is meaningless. You see? So where people or nihilists, the classic nihilists, go wrong is they'll say life or reality is meaningless. Therefore, like, that means I should kill myself, or that means that reality is bad, or that means that I should stop working or something. But that's, you've already negated your own, like, conclusion. You've negated your own logic. Because if you're saying that meaninglessness means this, then it's no longer meaningless. Do you understand? So meaninglessness itself is meaningless. So it doesn't even change anything, even though it's true. There's no meaning, like there's no inherent meaning, and that doesn't even change anything because it negates itself. And in that framework, then you see that only meaning is meaningful. But yes, meaning is created. We create meaning. Only purpose is purposeful. Even though there is no inherent purpose, or you could say there is an inherent purpose, and that inherent purpose of anything that exists, life or death or pain or pleasure or existence or non-existence or government or like illegitimate gangs, like all of those things exist for their own sake. The way they appear on the relative plane is that every single thing, because it's like a web, it's like see, everything in the relative plane is essentially just the dream or how the dream appears. But there's only one dreamer. So in the dream is created out of complexity and layers. Like there's many different people, many different points of view, many different like objects and so on. However, why there are such like calibrated ecosystems and complex like systems where, you know, the classic saying, everything is connected. Like that is true. And it's not by accident, it's because the whole dream is being dreamt by one person. So all of the deviations of like where it appears like there's others and all that stuff there, it's all going to be coherent because it's all being dreamt by one person. Or it's not a person, but it's being dreamt by one force. So essentially, they're all being deviated away from the same core, you see. So even and when they're deviating out, realize that there's no other destination other than where they began from. So they will deviate out, and then they'll have to come back to where they began from, you see. So like, there's nowhere else to go. So like, they can deviate out, and like where they're deviated far away, like this thing and this thing will seem like they're completely not related to each other, but actually they are. Like they're gonna link back. There, see, this is how like life and death, order and chaos, like right and wrong, evil and good, like all of this stuff. Like they're literally the same thing. It's just the same thing from the core. It splits and deviates into like counter opposites. Like it splits and deviates into positive and negative. And then like at this point, at the furthest point, it will seem like complete opposites. Like they have nothing to do with each other. Like they just, yeah. And then it will literally come back. And then you'll realize, actually, no, there's no like difference. Because even like, for example, good and bad, like for who? Good for who? See, people act as if like, oh, like they'll say, oh, like rape. Maybe, I don't know if I should speak about that on YouTube, but I'm just using an extreme example. Like me as a human, of course, I would never condone rape, any of these things. I'd never do that, right? But I'm just using an extreme example. Like rape, like we would go so far as to say like as if like that is absolutely wrong. Like as if it's written in existence that rape is wrong. Like, but no, like there's nothing inherently wrong about rape. It's just us as humans who will say that that's like, we'll act as if it's absolutely wrong. Because why? Because like if there in the act of rape, like there is a human who is suffering like massively. Trauma, they're experiencing trauma, they're suffering, right? And that's a human that's experiencing that. And we are also humans, and we've experienced suffering and trauma. We didn't like when we experienced suffering and trauma. So when we think about, oh, this is a particular situation where a human is experiencing suffering and trauma. I'm a human, I've experienced those things and I did not like it. like when I experienced those things, it felt like it was wrong to me. Like when it was happening to me, it felt wrong. So it must, like, it's definitely wrong, like for them. Like in general, it's just wrong, we're saying. But like if you was a mosquito, do you think you would give a fuck about like human rape? Like would that even be a concept in your head? Like humans raping is bad. If you was a mosquito or like a pig, does a pig even know what the fuck like that concept is of like human rape? It doesn't even like have a conceptual map of that. It doesn't even know what the fuck that is. And you might say, oh, that's just because it's too stupid to understand. Like it really exists, but like they're just too stupid to like to comprehend that or be cognizant of that. See, because rape isn't something that even actually exists absolutely. Because, for example, rape like assumes that there is one like independent agent and then another independent agent. They both have will, and then he's like imposing their will on the other. See, there already has to be two individuals who have will, and like one who really wants this thing and one who wants that thing, and then he's like imposing his will over like that. But there's not even two individuals. Like they're like there's not really even two individuals. Those individuals don't even have their own will. Like you could say those individuals from a particular species, such as humans. Like there's not even such a thing as humans. Even that's made up. So I don't even know what the fuck what the point of this video is. I'm literally just rambling. And that's why I don't know. Essentially that's the point of this video, is that and you guys can let me know what you think. Like to me is essentially extremely clear now that if you're speaking on the absolute level and you're speaking about only truth, you want to be as accurate as possible, then the most absolute truth and the most accurate description is that the purpose of everything is for its own sake. Like everything is for its own sake, right? So in a sense, like you have a point and it loops and it just comes back to itself. Right? Even though it appears like everything is for everything else, like it appears like black exists so that white, like it appears like light exists so that darkness can exist, or it appears like darkness exists so that light can exist, or it appears like there's pain so that you can also experience pleasure, and it all of this kind of stuff. That's like kind of when you're looking at it from the dualistic point of view. But really, not even that is true. Everything is for its own sake. So, from that point of view, like, the reason why I'm rambling about all this stuff, for example, is because, like, when you speak about, like, a human and they're alive, right, and they're saying, like, if you ask them, what keeps you going? Like, most humans will say, they're either trying to achieve some goal, fulfill some conditions or something like that. And it's like they always rationalize their own actions by Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. It's just certain understanding. It's not even understanding. Like there's some things which one can become conscious of, which one can never communicate because there are no effective tools to communicate those insights. And it's possible to try and attempt through speaking and making videos, but it's just like, I don't know. Because it's weird, because like, first I never even intended on making any videos. Then I just kind of made some videos randomly. And I got a bit of traction, so, and I enjoyed it a bit, so I kind of carried on. And now I've actually got a few subscribers, not too much, but nearly 100. And it feels like I feel like an inclination to carry on, but at the same time, every single video I make is basically saying the same thing. And essentially, yeah, like every video, like just everything, not even just this video, but just everything is pointless, like in life. Like you can only like live the dream. Well, this was one of the, like I had so many video ideas, but one of them was even, for example, if it's like, can you become too conscious for your own good? Um, yeah, strange, because it's like all of that stuff I was explaining about meaning earlier is like, because for example, let's say you're striving for something, like you're really suffering, you're striving, you're sacrificing to achieve something. You're doing that because you think it means something else. Like, oh, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna get that like grade, so I can get into that university. And when I could go to that like top university, then I can get the top graduate scheme thing. And then I can get to the highest firm, and then that means I can get the highest amount of money, and then that means that I'll be able to get the most beautiful woman and the best like family and the best house. And then that means that I'll be happy, and then that means that I'll be fulfilled, and then that means that my life will be accomplished, and then that means I'll be able to die satisfied. See, like literally meaning is like an infinite string. And it's an infinite string into the future because it's an infinite string in the past where everything meant something else, which meant something else, which meant something else. And every single action or like event that occurred was because of something before that. See, it's just essentially causality, the domino effect. Um, but when you become conscious enough and you realize, no, there is no like, you essentially, when you become conscious enough and you step off the treadmill, the spiritual treadmill or the hamster wheel, right? When you realize that like no matter what you do, no matter what conditions like you fulfill, you can you can never become like, you can't deviate from where you are because you're already everywhere. You can never remain at the peak because the peak is only relative to the valley. And no matter what peak you're at, there's always somewhere higher. No matter what valley you're at, there's always somewhere lower. So like you can never lose the game. You can never win the game. Progression is an illusion. Degeneration is an illusion. And like when you're as a human and just acting in life, you think that no, like you really can degenerate. Like you really can be set back, or you really can progress. So I need to act accordingly and do the right things so that I get that thing and avoid that thing. But then like once you just like see through that whole illusion, you just realize like the homeless person is in the exact same place as the billionaire. They're both here now. Which is where you are, which is where I am, which is where everything is. Because that's like everywhere is here. Like here and there, there's no difference. There is over here. Like even then, now and then, there's no difference. There's no difference between anything. Separation is an illusion. It's imagined by you. If you don't imagine that separation, then it doesn't exist. See, if right now, like, let's say as a human, we're saying, all right, cool, like, do demons exist or something? And then we're speculating about them. Like, do demons exist? Like, they could, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Like, as you're imagining, if they are or they aren't, then they exist. And the moment you forget about them, they no longer exist. Because there's no like physical layer behind the curtains. Like there's no substance to your perceptions. There's only perceptions. Like there's nothing causing, like everything you see right now, there's nothing causing it. That's what I'm saying. Like reality if you want to be the most accurate, when we're speaking about the absolute level, I'm not even denying everything that you're seeing, or see, because you're not even seeing anything, because you don't exist. So what you think you're seeing and the thing that you think you are, like you, who you believe is perceiving as the subject, and the thing that you think you are perceiving, which is the object, like neither of those things exist. So like, how could you cause something that doesn't exist? Like there was no process that made this occur. And like reality will never end. Reality will never end because it never began. Like really just look at your life, except that yes, like I don't remember when I was born. You might have all kinds of rationalizations. Like, I was too young, my brain wasn't developed to remember that and all that. It doesn't matter about all that. Just remember, you don't even remember when you were born. Just realize that you've always been here. Just be honest with yourself, at least about like to the best of your like knowledge. Like say like, alright, cool, maybe I was born, but to the best of like my knowledge and like my memory and everything, I don't even remember being born. I was just here. And I assume that there's an end because I assume that there was a beginning. I assume that I will die, but I've never died. So I don't even know that. See, like, even think about it. Like, in your nighttime dreams, do you realize that, like, have you ever had a dream that had a beginning? Or, like, in every single dream you've ever had, in that moment when you was in the dream and you was dreaming it, didn't it feel like you had always been in that dream? Like, you've never had a dream where, like, you kind of just like, oh, like, I'm dreaming now, like, the dream is starting, and now let's watch how this dream progresses. Like, no, in every single dream, it feels like you've been there, like, your whole life. It feels like you've always been there until you wake up and you realize, oh, that was just a dream. But, See, and even that, yeah, you waking up and coming out of that dream into here, like, that's an illusion. It's the same dream. The dream never ended and it never began. That was just like, that was a false like progression. Do you understand? Like in the film with the cutover effects, like a blackout, and it seems like it's a new scene now. There was no new scene. It was the same scene, just a blackout. It makes it seem like it's a new scene, but no. Like, it's still the same screen. It's just playing in different images. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a paradox because, like, even the idea that this video is here to help others, like, if what I've said in the past is correct about, like, solipsism and all this kind of stuff, like, really there are no others to help. I'm not saying that there's not other points of view, but every point of view is being seen from the same like self. Like, it's always I. Like, it's like no one else can perceive except for like I or me. I'm not even saying me as like this particular human, but whoever is seeing, like whoever is perceiving, it's I that's perceiving it, right? Even if as this human, I may say that human is not I, like it's not me. There's someone else. But they would say that about you, and they would refer to themselves as I. They would refer to themselves as me. So see, recognize that only I or only me can even see. No one else can see except for I. Even if it's different humans, different separate humans with different personalities, it's always the same self. So like, it's like essentially what it's like what I'm speaking is just useless because it's like I'm just basically, it's like I'm telling you you're alive as if you don't know that already. Like, could any words that I say make you realize that you're more alive than you already do? Like, either you're already like highly conscious of that and you understand like most of what I'm saying, or you're not, and everything that I'm saying doesn't make sense to you. But even if it doesn't make sense to you, then you're still alive anyway. And you're still absolute anyway in actuality, even if you believe yourself to be relative. So it doesn't even change anything. It doesn't even change anything if your human, like, like system, like your ego, essentially. It doesn't even matter if your ego, like, awakens or not, really. Like, it doesn't even matter because you're already awakened anyway. Like, there's no conditions that need to be fulfilled. The absolute truth is always true. And I'm trying to get you to realize that, but it's basically stupid. Like, well, that's what I was trying to do, but I'm just realizing more and more now that, like, there's no point. And really, I realized these things like many years before I even started making videos about it, and I never even was gonna speak about it because I already knew back then that there's no point. And even with my close friends, I don't speak about none of this stuff, because I just understand that they won't understand it. Or like they can think they understand it, but they're gonna misunderstand it. Because this is not something you can understand through words. This is just something you realize or you don't. And you don't realize it through words. But at the same, like if there was some other method, then I'll just tell you. But there is not even any other method. But yeah, even like, I don't even know if there's a point like for someone who's unrealized to even try and become realized, because like there's not really any benefit to your human life. It's almost detrimental to your human life. Like after realizing certain things, it's not even like you're suicidal or anything, but it just certain times it just feels like there's not even a point of being alive, because like if the destination is the same as the beginning, is there even a need to deviate in the first place? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's essentially the point of the whole video, is that, yes, like if you're at A and you want to get to B, then it makes sense to progress from A to B. But if you're at A and the only other place that there is A, like you're at the only place that there is there even a point of deviating just to return back to the same place? Do you understand? Like, is there even, and that deviation is like your life, or you doing actions. Every action you do or every thought you have is like a deviation from the baseline, because your baseline is just naught. So it's just like, if me making this video is equivalent to me not making this video, is there a point of me making this video? And the answer is that inherently, no, there's not. But if I decide to do it anyway, then essentially that's the point. The point is that even though that there is no reason to deviate from like the start line, or like the 0 point, like even though there's no reason to deviate, because the destination will be the same place as the beginning and there will be no progression, even though there's no point, there's no inherent point to deviating, you can still deviate if one so desires, essentially. Like so essentially desire is what links it all together. Like that all of this is happening through God's desire, because I don't even think that any of this needed to happen. It's just that you as the self, or as God, wanted this to happen. There's no, like this is just basically a circus. Like, it's pure entertainment. That's like, entertainment is basically something that, like watching a movie, like the Spider-Man movie or The Walking Dead or something, like this doesn't really change anything about reality. Like The Walking Dead, like that TV series, it's not like, that's not going to really change anything in reality. It doesn't really have a reason to exist other than just, it's literally just deviation for deviation's sake. That's entertainment. You're just basically, it's like escapism and all this stuff. Like, you're basically just deviating away just to deviate, just for the fun of it. So that's like the only like point, really. So essentially, this is kind of the difference between kind of being pragmatic and productive, where everything you do is achieving something else, to like the other flip side of the coin, which you could say is more artistic, to where like the art isn't like pragmatic at all. It's not useful at all, except for just its own enjoyment. And I don't know, because that, to me, it doesn't seem like reality is ever on just one side of the coin, and it's slightly both sides of the coin, and it's neither nor. Like, it's neither this or that. It seems to me like perhaps the most accurate way of describing it is that there is neither a point to life, nor is there not a point. See, so there's not an inherent point to life, but that doesn't mean that there can't be a point to life. You see? Like, it's not fixed that there is no point to life and everything you do is in vain. There's not a point to life, but you can make it be meaningful. You can make it have a point if you do what you desire to do and enjoy it. Then the enjoyment can be the point of it. And that's, in a sense, entertainment. That's why this is the circus, is that nothing here is really real. It's just an illusion that God created to entertain itself. Because what else did it have to do? Like, it had nowhere else to be. It had nothing else to do. And as a result, this is where we are now. I don't know. I don't even know if I'll upload that. I might have to rewatch that one because that was a bit too rambly, but we'll see.